All right, here we have graphing inequalities. Now, graphing inequalities is very similar to graphing any other line. There's just some minor differences between the two, which I'll show you here in a bit. So the first thing you'll notice here in graphing inequalities is the type of lines. This is what a normal line would look like. But notice how you have now a choice of dashed or solid. Now what determines whether you're going to graph a dashed line or a solid line is whether or not it is an equal to or not an equal to. So these ones do not have the line underneath and are not an equal to. So therefore the line is dashed. Whereas these ones have the line underneath, they are equal to's, and so they will remain a solid line. Now we're going to start off by just graphing one line, and just to kind of get you used to the steps here, the process of solving these systems of equations, and then we'll get into systems. If we scroll down, you'll see that we'll get into what we consider systems of equations, multiple inequalities. So let's go back up and start by graphing one of the lines. The first step is to make sure that the line is in the correct format. It is in the y equals mx plus b, so we can go ahead and graph it beginning with our y-intercept. Y-intercept is going to be 2, so I'm going to start my y-intercept here at 2. Now we do our slope. Here's our slope. It's right here, and you can't see it, but there is a 1 there, meaning that I will go up 1 over 1. So up 1 over 1, and it's going to look like this. And I could even go backwards. So now here's where the things are a little bit different. You have to look at the inequality sign. You'll see that it is just a regular greater than or less than. So we know that the line is going to be dashed. So to connect these dots, we make a dashed line. Now here's the other thing. Because it is not an equation, the solution isn't just one thing. This says that y is anything less than x plus 2. So that's what this inequality means. Y is anything less than x plus 2. So here's what we do. You're going to get in the habit here of drawing arrows off of your line like so. You draw them on both ends, one on one end, one on the other, and you draw them going perpendicular from your line. And now, because this is a less than, you're going to shade to the arrows that point down. You're going to shade everything where the arrows point down. If this was a greater than, then you would shade to all the arrows pointing up. Okay, so we're going to go here, and you're just basically going to shade everything that is less than. And that is it. That is graphing an inequality. So again, graphing the line itself, is nothing different. Start with the y-intercept and then do your slope. Started with the y-intercept, did my slope. Notice that the less than here, less than means it's a dashed line. So I drew a dashed line. Here's where the new part comes up. Arrows drawn off of your line. The arrows are basically there, and you'll see when we get to doing two equations why they are so important. But this makes it much easier to tell whether what side of the line you're going to shade. A less than means you shade the arrows pointing down. A greater than means you would shade the line to the arrows pointing up. Pretty simple. Okay, let's try another one. here, and we're going to graph this, we're going to graph this line here, starting with our y-intercept. So I'm going to zoom in just so we get a good line here. I got to remember what the equation is. Greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 4. Plus 4. Yes, plus 4. Sorry. So we're going to start with our y-intercept. Is at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our y-intercept right there. And then our slope, just a reminder, negative 2x. Our slope is negative 2x, meaning we're going to go down 2 over 1. So down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Since this is an equal to line, it's just going to be a regular straight line. So let me draw a straight line, or sorry, a solid line. That's what I meant. There we go. Like I said, you're going to get in the habit with inequalities, draw a line, or draw arrows coming off of your line going in both directions. And now, look at your inequality sign. The inequality sign is a greater than. So, you're simply going to shade to the arrows that point in the upward direction, which is to the right. Everything over here will get shaded in. That's it. Okay? Now, why don't you go ahead and try number 2 on your own, pause the video, and then check your answer once you're done. Okay, so there is the answer. Okay, I started with my y-intercept, which is negative 5. So here's my y-intercept at negative 5. My slope is a positive 3/4, meaning I go up 3 over 4. Okay, did my other dot there? Because this is not an equal to, okay, it's just a regular less than, it's a dashed line. Drew my arrows off of my inequality line. And then went back to the inequality and noticed it's a less than, meaning that I shade to the arrows that point down. Okay? Alright. Now we do have some special cases. We remember these ones, right? Y equals lines and x equals lines. Hopefully by now you have gotten an idea of what an x equals line looks like and what a y equals line looks like. An x equals line is going to be a line that is vertical. So when we look at here, we're going to draw a vertical line. First of all, look at your what it is. It's 2. So I know I'm going to have x equaling 2. So I go over here to where x is 2, and I'm going to draw a vertical line there. Just have to keep in mind that this is an equal to, so it is going to be a solid line at 2, and it's vertical. Draw our arrows off of the inequality. And then this one's a little funny because the arrows don't go up or down. They go left or right. So this is where you have to just kind of look at this. X is less than 2. Where is x less than 2? Okay, is x going to be less than 2 over here? No. Okay, this is 2. X is less than 2. Everything over here. So we're going to shade everything on this side of the line. Hopefully your shading is a little bit better than mine, but that's basically how it looks. Okay, we'll go over here to number 4. Okay, a y equals line is a horizontal line. So y equals negative 1. I'm going to go over here to y is equal to negative 1 and draw a horizontal line, being aware that this is a regular inequality, not an equal to, so it's going to be dashed. So I'm going to draw a dashed line. This one's a little bit easier when you draw your arrows because they do go up and down. And we look here, greater than, so I shade to the arrows that point up. There we go, shade, shade, shade. All the arrows pointing up. And that's it. Alright, now let's move on to systems of inequalities. So we're going to go down here. I apologize that the graphs did not come in very well. Okay, but we're going to do a couple here, and then I'm going to let you do a couple on your own, checking your answers. With a system of inequalities, just like in a system of equations, you have to graph both lines. Okay, but instead of you graphing both lines and just wherever they cross is the solution, your shading is going to be your solution. So let's do one line at a time. I'm going to do this one here. I'm going to do it in blue. So we'll start off with our y-intercept at 3. So 1, 2, 3, there's my y-intercept. My slope, okay, is this negative sign. It is -1, meaning I'm going to go down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and I can just keep going. Okay. Then again, we have to look at the inequality symbol. It is a regular less than, meaning that it's going to be a dashed line. So as I draw this, I'm going to draw it a dashed line. Okay, now here's the difference with systems of inequalities. I'm only going to put the arrows in the way that I would shade. Okay, so here we look at it and it's less than. If we drew our arrows, okay, and well, you could do this if you wanted to. You can just draw your arrows off of here. Okay, and know that you would only you're going to be shading to the arrows that point down. Okay, so you don't need, let's see, you don't need the, let me go back. There you go. We don't need the arrows. We only need the arrows going in this direction. Okay. Now, we're going to draw our second line. Okay, here's our second line. So I'm going to start off at -2. And then my slope is +3 over 2. So I'm going to go up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. I could even go backwards by going down 3 over 2. And since this is a regular less than, I know it's going to be a dashed line as well. Okay. Okay, now on this line, it is also a less than. So we need to imagine, if we draw our arrows, which arrows are going to be facing down. Which arrow is going to be facing down, and draw arrows in that direction. Okay, if I were to draw my arrows, these ones would be facing in the downward direction. Now the shading thing's a little bit different than when you're just drawing one. When you're shading and drawing one, you shade the area that the arrows point towards each other. So if you look here, these arrows are pointing towards each other, so I know that I'm going to shade everything that is in between these lines. And that's it. Okay, so let's try another one here, just to get a little more practice in. Alright, so we have number 2 here. Again, I'm going to graph this line right here, starting with the y-intercept. Y-intercept is 2, so I go up here to 2, draw a dot, and then my slope here is 4, meaning I'm going to go up 4 over 1. Up 4 over 1, and I can go backwards by going down 4 over 1 as well. Looking at the inequality here, it is an equal to, meaning that it's going to be a solid line. So I graph, let's see, I graph as close to a solid line as I can, or as a straight line as I can. Again, look at your inequality. Okay, it is a less than or equal to, meaning I'm going to shade to the arrows that point down. If we imagine drawing arrows here, which ones are going to be pointing down? Okay, it should be this side. So I'm going to go ahead and draw arrows going this way. Now, to graph the second line, which is y is greater than -2, here, this is a y equals line. You got to remember, there's x equals lines and y equals lines. X equals are vertical, y equals are horizontal. So I just go to where y is -2. Okay, I'm going to draw where y is -2. There's right where -2 is. And then I'm going to draw a horizontal line. Be careful. Okay, this is not an equal to, meaning it's going to be a dashed line. Okay, there we go. And then, since it is greater than, I'm going to shade anywhere pointing up. So, draw my arrows up, draw my arrows up. And just like we did in the previous problem, you're going to shade to the arrows that point towards each other. Okay, away, these are away, away. These ones here point towards each other. Therefore, I'm going to shade everything in between these two lines. Okay, and that's it. That's your solution. That means the solution is anywhere in that area. Alright? Alright, let's look at the last two here. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and graph these two. Go ahead and pause the video, graph this one on your own, and then play when you're ready to check out the answer. Okay, here are our graphs. Here's our graphs, both graphed on here. Our first line started at -1 and then had a slope of 1, meaning going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. It is a equal to line, so it's going to be a solid line. And then since it's less than, I'm going to point my arrows in the down direction to the side that points down. Wouldn't do over here because those point up, so I'm doing over here. Second line starts at 2 and has a slope of -1 over 2, meaning down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. This one is a regular inequality. It's to greater than, doesn't have the equal to, so it's going to be a dashed line. And then this is greater than, I'm going to point arrows up from there. Okay, arrows pointing up. And then finally, what's left to do is shade. And you shade to the arrows that point towards each other. And that is it. Alright, go ahead again, pause the video. We're going to move over here to number 4. Go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and try it on your own and check back for the answer. Alright, here are your two lines graphed. First one starts at 2. So here's 2, and then it's got a slope of -1/3, so down 1 over 3. And I went backwards also, and then since it got an equal to, it's going to be a solid line, and it's less than, so I shade arrows. I write shade arrows going down. Okay, not up, down. Second equation starts at -2. And then a slope of 1, meaning going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. It kept going. It does have an equal to as well, so it is also a solid line. It is a greater than, meaning I do shade arrows in the up direction. Then finally, last thing, shade to your arrows that point towards each other. And that is it. That concludes our notes. Okay. If you have any questions, please message me on Canvas. If you don't know how I did something, message me on Canvas or send me an email. Or you can, just pause the video and stop by. If you're doing this in class, just stop the video. If you have any questions, let me know. The homework is on Canvas. I'll have a hard copy provided there, but there is on Canvas the homework is there, and it's just the same as this. So, all right.